Well, the DPW,
Somebody hired an attorney
Parks and Rec.
that spoiled 44 items, and it's all about the water.
hello everyone, we'll start our meeting this morning if it's okay. DPW. We'll start with Tim Benway with the Parks, Rec, and Railroad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First up, I have Justin Gagnon.
Morning, Justin.
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Well, this will likely be the last time that I address you all in this capacity, so
Thanks.
it's been a pleasure working with everyone. But, so the move out continues. We're moved out of Thurman Station, we're moved out of North Creek Station. Revolution Rail is still doing their thing in the North Creek Station, but we are not in there. The washout down by milepost 51.5 has been stabilized. We have a few more repairs left to make there before it's totally fixed, but for the time being it's good to go. Storage cars have all been pulled out of storage. There's 24 of them that are in North Creek now that will be brought to interchange tomorrow, and then that whole saga can be put to rest. And last month I reported on our crossings. Everything is good to go there, so nothing to worry about as far as crossings being out of service. That's all I have.
Did you have?
I had a couple of questions for him.
Okay, go ahead.
First of all, Justin, I want to say thank you. It's been a pleasure, at least for me, the last couple of months of working with you. You're an asset to wherever you end up. It truly has been a pleasure. I was going to ask you about the maintenance and the signals. So is the contract for the signals carrying through to
Whenever?
whenever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to follow up, Justin, there was discussion before about these crossings being pinned open. So you talked about whenever the contract, that makes me a little nervous, right? Do we have a defined time when the contract to maintain the crossings are going to be done? And then is the next step going to be to pin this up so that there's not a problem with them?
There's going to need to be. There will need to be a defined time when Iowa Pacific is no longer responsible for the crossings and the county will become responsible for the crossings. At every railroad crossing, whether it's in use or not in use, it has to have a blue sign on the crossing conveying who is responsible for the crossing and a 24-hour emergency contact number. So obviously right now that information is Saratoga North Creek Railway, and the emergency contact number is our Network Operations Center out in Janesville, Wisconsin. On the day, and I don't know what day that would be, that it switches from IPH back to Warren County, all of those signs would need to be replaced to reflect a new 24-hour number, whichever number that would be. But that's a federal regulation. But as far as the crossings themselves, yes, they could be taken out of service, and the ones that are equipped with gates, the gates could be pinned up in place, and you could pull the power supply. Jump them
Just
out.
to follow up, I guess I'm a little confused. Is there any action on your part to take that obligation from Iowa Pacific and Saratoga and North Creek and assign it to Warren County? Even though
No.
we're under contract now?
No, that's why I said whatever date that ends up being.
Okay.
But yes, as long as we have a contract, we're still under obligation.
Mr. Garrity?
Maybe I'm not.
No.
No, she's not.
Don, I have a question.
I thought you had.
Supervisor Bramer.
Go ahead.
I hate this chair in here.
Kind of vague. I mean, I'd like more specifics on it.
I know.
It's kind of vague. I mean, we have a contract, contract's still in place, so the contract is void or Iowa Pacific Operations is still responsible for those gates, right?
That's correct, yes.
So that,
I apologize if I was vague, but that is the case. As long as our contract is still in place,
that could go on another year, or?
Years.
So-
2.5 years.
2.5.
Right, I'm just giving you the regulations as I know them to be. Whenever it happens that it's transferred back, or if it's not, whatever, but if it happens, that's the steps that would need to be taken.
And I have a question about regulations. If
Okay.
you have moved away from the operation of the line, how long before you have to pin up those crossings? Is there any regulation that if it's dormant or idle for X number of days before you have to pin up those?
No. From the time that the last of the equipment leaves, it could be done behind every train. As soon as it crosses over, we could pin them up.
But there's no regulation.
No
The
regulation.
other thing is, I'm concerned about vandalism to the crossings. Last time, even when you were operating, there was some vandalism, people go in there, steal the copper out of the crossings and stuff
Mhm.
like that. That could create a lot of problems for us going forward unless we knew that some of the stuff was taken care of, correct?
Someone, whether it's a rail contractor or whomever, somebody is going to need to keep an eye on that stuff. Whether it's Iowa Pacific, Warren County, someone's going to have to keep an eye on that for sure.
Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Justin, my first question, are you authorized as a representative of Saratoga, North Creek, and Iowa Pacific to speak about this condition of the contract that you're going to maintain these crossings? As an employee, are you authorized to speak about this?
To the extent to which the contract is written, sure.
Okay. I just want to make sure that, we don't come by a month later and your boss, Mr. Ellis, says, well, Justin wasn't authorized to say that.
No, I'm not saying anything that isn't a federal regulation or, a condition in the contract, so...
What about planned maintenance? Is there any maintenance ongoing on these tracks?
Yeah, we still have to maintain the tracks to the extent that we're running trains. That's why we're repairing the washout and, doing track patrols and stuff like that.
Okay, so are you pursuing all the normal, regular maintenance as you would have in years past?
Mm-hmm. My intention, yes.
Okay. Is there anything? Gene?
Well, it's not for Justin, I just got a couple of things I want to bring up. One, I did get an email, and I gave Chairman Simpson and Gary, Administrator Bob Knoll, interested in talking to us about running a freight and running a tourism train. I didn't answer it. I don't want to have anything to do with it, but I think you should know about it. So, with that. Second thing, I was approached by Supervisor Mo Wright from Hadley, questioning the building on our property, but in the town of Hadley, and whether we will still be maintained in the grass cut, so it doesn't get to look like it's all done. The second thing was that he was interested in talking to this committee about if this train doesn't go through, about we pay taxes to Hadley for that property, that we can work out something that they'd like to use the building. We have events down there, which we bring events down there. I have a key to the building, I usually open it and turn the electric on, and then I close it for them. It's been going on like that for years, so just something else to bring up in the future, but Mo asked me to bring it up, the right, asked me to bring it up in front of this committee to put thought there. I don't know about the Thurman station, the Hadley Thurman station we'd like to use.
Okay. Will your ongoing maintenance include also, around these buildings? Is there going to be anybody here to,
There's going to be a point where there's
not going to be?
not going to work here anymore. I don't have a good answer for that, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But that's the place thank you for all of our work. We have a great relationship there.
Chairman Conover?
Yeah, just a couple of things. One, just kind of take off about vagueness of the existing operating arrangement. And I'd like to maybe dissect it into two parts. The first part dealing with public safety. There are those elements of the existing operating lease that deal with public safety, crossings, insurances, those kinds of things. If I'm hearing you correctly today, are you saying that for track conditions, to the extent the tracks are used, that those items that specifically directly deal with public safety or obligations, railroad under the operating, that those will be attended to? Is that your understanding?
Specifically, well, as far as the crossings go, we have an obligation, regardless of our contract with Warren County. Those crossings have to be maintained and inspected to federal regulations. Once the trains stop running, if the crossings are taken out of service and pinned up and jumped out so that there's no power supply anymore, then at that point the only maintenance on those crossings, so to speak, would be if there was an issue with the roadway condition, or if we had a situation where, you know, a vehicle struck, you know, went off the road and struck one of the electrical boxes or something like that.
So let's deal with these one at a time, Mr. Chairman, if that's all right.
Mhm.
Then, to the extent that the operating agreement does not entertain this approach, are you advancing some type of amendment to the existing operating agreement, or
No.
you're not?
No, I'm not advancing any amendment to the
Not advancing
agreement.
any.
I'm only speaking to the contract as it stands.
Well, no, what you're speaking to is something that I'm not sure the contract even speaks to, which is you're looking to move to some type of, let's move on to insurance. Are you going to continue to maintain insurance coverage relative to the whole line?
I would assume as long as we have I'm answering these questions to the best of my ability. But, yes, I mean, we would have an obligation, the people would still, whatever insurance cases took place would still be happening on property that we are responsible for. So,
Yeah,
as long as the contract is in place.
Right, but to the extent that that is not a reflection of the existing operating agreement, and that it may be a change, that the existing operating agreement does not entertain, that's something that, you know, I think we need to hear about, preferably in writing. So if you could, as one of your final messages back to whoever, that we have not received any I don't believe we've received any communication relative to the existing operating agreement, particularly concerned with those elements of the operating agreement that specifically directly deal with public safety and those items that deal with insurances relative to the operation. So, to the extent that the concept or picture that, or your understanding that exists, to the extent that that represents some type of change or modification to the existing operating agreement, I mean, we're going to need to, I think we're going to require some kind of communication in that regard. And I think it's time is of the essence in this regard, because we certainly don't want to have any condition exist that could be harmful to anyone's property in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
I guess that's my message today.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you want me to get confirmation on, you know, just keeping up on the insurances and making sure that any other public safety aspects will continue to be addressed as they currently are worded in the contract. I can do that for you.
Mr. Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Justin, and just to follow up with that, with you leaving, which is what you're implying, I believe, right?
Well, eventually I'm not going to have a choice.
Do you have any concept how the maintenance and these public safety matters would be addressed?
These are tough questions for me personally to answer, but only to the extent of what I know the federal laws to be. I mean, where railroads come into contact with the general public, the operator of that railroad has an obligation to make sure that those federal obligations are met. I can't guarantee anything beyond my tenure here, so, other than the fact that the federal laws won't change.
Okay.
Other comments are probably best reserved for another time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, if I could, maybe move to the other side of those elements within the contract that exist relative to minimum payments, that kind of thing, financial side, monies that are owed, property tax monies that may be owed. Can you give us any insight relative to that? I mean, the sales came in and said he was done dealing, but we have not, I don't believe, received any communication relative to this either. In fact, I think the last communication we had on it, I'm not sure the date of it, but it basically said that all issues associated with the contract would be remedied, because I believe it was, that may go back a ways now, just prior to more recent events. But is there anything you can shed any light relative to the thinking and the approach relative to those obligations? Again, because those obligations, I would assume, continue to accrue. They continue to exist. Is there any insight at all you can give us? And if not, then I can understand that it would be, I think, important that we receive something in writing relative to those elements of the existing operating agreement to deal with those kinds of things.
I'm really trying to figure out a way to answer your question without shrugging you off, or seeming like I'm shrugging you off.
I guess what I'm asking you to do, if you could just, in your final throws here, if you could maybe deliver that message as well.
Mr. Wild?
One more, Mr. Chairman, I hope. Justin?
Yes.
I think it's pretty obvious that there's some concerns about the financial stability of the organization that you're currently employed by. And as part of that, there's obligations that we as owners of that railway have. And I'm wondering if you might be able to provide us a current copy of the existing insurance certificate that, by contract, your organization is required to have and provide, I believe.
I should be able to do that. I'll have to get that from our attorney. It's not something I keep in my office.
That's fair.
But, yeah.
But at your earliest convenience, if you could, Justin, that'd be very much appreciated.
All right, and I'll send that to Chairman?
And copy Mary Cassane.
Okay.
Chairman?
Just in any communication, should there be any communication back, I think all of the communication should go through County Attorney Mary Cassane's her office. I think we should communicate directly with the county attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And then she could disseminate as appropriate.
Okay.
Thank you, Justin. It's been a
little bit
pleasure
of-
working with you.
Thanks, Justin.
Thanks,
We'll be in
everybody.
touch.
Thank you.
All right. See y'all later.
All right. That was a good job.
Also on the railroad, I had sent an email, or asked Amanda to send an email out to the committee that I had reached out to Kevin and Tim about looking at what needs to happen for us to be able to run snowmobiles on the tracks this year. I know that the snowmobile clubs have reached out, and I happened to have been in a meeting Friday in Old Forge with the executive director of the Snowmobile Association, New York State Snowmobile Association, and it came up as a topic within our committee about how they, really would like to use that corridor. So, I don't know if you're ready. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a process to get through.
I actually looked into it for Mr. Chairman. They said that FRA, you would need to take out a section of rail and goes, if it is a derailment.
Yeah.
That takes the track out of service, it's going to the main line. And then the actual club themselves would have to establish bridge crossings, signal crossings, anything like that. They put mats down so the snowmobiles don't get lodged. So we've done it in the past, so it just takes some effort.
Okay.
Go back out, all the bridges would be required to put railings on them. Nothing there, obviously.
One thing that the executive director of the association had told me that they have worked on a statewide TRP with the DEC. The TRP is going to be another thing that we would have to work on, to get in place if we were to do this. And I also know that on my way to this meeting, the operation that's running the bikes on the tracks and on the northern end, their bikes were lined up, and they actually have a derailleur. They had to take out a section of track for that also. So I don't think there's any impediments to us doing it on, on our line. So, Claudia, I saw you, but I was trying to finish what I was talking about before I called on you. Go ahead.
If it's already, if segments have already been taken up, is there any impediment to people hiking on it this summer and not waiting until snowmobile season in winter? It's obviously not being used for a railroad.
Mary's not here right now. She had an appointment, but I think that's something we could ask
We should
her.
definitely look into it. I have no idea the segment is already been full.
I think Kevin was.
I'm not positive on this, Supervisor Bramer, but I believe even though under contract that Iowa Pacific still has that section of track, we can't even go on the track without getting complete permission from them. So for somebody just to hike on the track, I don't believe you can.
So that would be the same for snowmobilers, then we have to figure something out to allow
We
the
will.
public
Yep,
to be on there.
correct.
So what are we doing to make that happen? It sounds like we might need an amendment to the contract.
I had talked to Justin about it. Now Justin is going to be no longer employed by Iowa Pacific shortly, but he had said that we would be able to run snowmobiles. It's something we're going to have to work on with headquarters. Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I think though that your instruction to DPW staff to begin to figure out how we might be able to utilize the corridor going forward in the winter or in other times. I think that planning, what would need to happen, what if it's going to cost, maybe committed to timeline. But I think that charge that you give to the staff is the prudent thing to do at this point in time. I would hate to think that we would have a ton of snow, for example, and not be able to utilize this wonderful corridor for the winter. So, and I agree with Claudia as well that it really relates to the corridor itself. So I would say that let's take a look at this as well, and I think that we need to, part of that I think needs to engage our legal staff relative to the existing operating agreement, what rights we do or don't have under that existing operating agreement.
Before Mary left, I did get an update from her. Amy Clute is working on the insurance, securing quotes for our property for Warren County on insurance. She did tell me she was in contact with Iowa Pacific to obtain proof of insurance. Justin will carry that back also. There's going to be a meeting with the railroad attorney at some point Wednesday. There is not a scheduled appointment yet, but she did alert me. So there is no, you had sent an email out over the weekend requesting information that hasn't been obtained yet. That meeting hasn't happened. So,
That's what Iowa Pacific attorney?
no, this is
Our
our attorney that we hired Tuesday night. Travis?
Quick question. That rail bike outfit, they used to deal directly with Iowa Pacific, I think.
They still are.
So
They're in a much better position. They actually collect the money, and they have a contract with Iowa Pacific to be on the rails, so they're able to continue.
So the money goes to Iowa Pacific?
No, the rail bikes, they collect the money directly.
And does the county get any portion of this?
That's on their property, not ours. Curtis?
I apologize for not keeping up with all the current events. It's obviously very interesting to me as an advocate for conversion to a rail trail. I'm kind of surprised at how up in the air things are. Are contract termination negotiations in progress?
We had to go through a process to actually secure a contract with a railroad attorney to advise us within this issue. There's several breaches that have happened. There's a series of events that have happened. And of course, we had to go through the committee. We had to go through the full board. That was approved last Tuesday night. So now we can, there's federal issues, state issues, there's local issues.
I think the only thing I want to say is, I was thinking about a year ago, I decided I wanted a garage. Not meant a lot of details, but basically it was a decision that I would build it. I would try. But of course, I don't completely have the right to do that, even though it's on my own property. I need some permits, I need permission to the permits. And I know there's a huge number of complications here, including terminating contract, federal laws, this and that. You touched on something. I think it gets overwhelming. Think about all the thorny details. So what I'm suggesting is you do the same thing I did with my garage. Decide what you want to do first, and then you seek the proper permits and permission, and deal with all the complications that ensue. But the first step is to decide what is it that you want to do. I wanted to build a garage. You want a railroad again? You want a rail trail? That decision is pretty important. I don't know what's in place now to make a rational decision, whether to try the railroad again or convert to a rail trail. Is there a process, is there a committee formed to decide that?
I think we've all agreed that the first issue that we need to get through is the contractual issue. There's money that's owed to every Warren County on behalf of all the taxpayers, and there's property taxes, it increases every day, and that is the big issue that's outstanding.
Well, that's what I'm contradicting you there. I think the big issue is what is it we want? What does the county want to do? It's public asset. It's a tremendous public asset. I'm not sure it's fully recognized just how incredible a rail trail that goes 90 miles from Saratoga to the house would be a very big deal. In my mind, a much bigger deal than the railroad. That's what I want to say. So making that decision, I think, is the biggest case.
Thank you. Mr. Merlino?
I agree. That comment. That's why this committee has to make a decision whether we want to move forward and try to get another operator that might be interested in coming in, or we're going to talk to them or call them and bring them in and see what they might want to offer for us. We'll just go ahead and say we're finished with trains and move on to another exploration contract.
I think that's a question that needs to be answered in the meeting Wednesday with the attorneys, whether we can operate, do we have that option? I think today I asked Mary if she knew the answer to that question, and she wanted to wait till Wednesday to talk to the railroad attorney. So I think we have to wait on that. Claudia?
It's gonna be hard though for the attorney to advise us when she won't even know what we want. It would be nice to be able to go into that meeting and telling her, here's what we're looking to do, otherwise she'll say, here's a gazillion options. I don't know what to tell you until I know what you want.
I think we've laid out a bunch of, a series of foundational questions that we need to ask first before we commit ourselves to anything other than what's currently our issue. I think, moving forward from that is where we need to have discussions, figure out what is best for Warren County. But I think those foundational questions are very important. Some, I can tell you I can tell you things that I've, been told. It's going to take a lot of time. It's not, you can't just, Warren County couldn't decide tomorrow, I want to be out of the railroad business, and then it happened. It's going to be, we want to make sure we don't have a misstep.
But why is the attorney not meeting with the full committee?
I don't think that's ever been asked of me to ask him. I think we developed a list of foundational questions and we approved a contract Tuesday night, and I think we're going to have a meeting Wednesday, the attorneys, to answer those questions, but it's never been presented to me to do anything other than that. Mr. Conover?
No, I would just say maybe you could shoot an email out though, in response to Supervisor French, all the supervisors, and to see what questions they have that might pertain to special counsel, and just to make sure that our list of questions is as comprehensive and complete as possible.
Right.
I think it's the more efficient way to do this kind of, because some supervisors may be happy with some of the things that are being discussed, others may have other questions. Maybe we could email out to everyone.
Okay. Mr. Wild?
Mr. Chairman, thanks. Just to make a statement, just for the public, there are consequences to every decision that we make, and every turn we've looked at, there's consequences that are good for the county, and there are consequences that could be quite negative for the county. So as stewards of the county's assets, including the tax base that we have, I think it makes sense for us to consider all those consequences and try to get the best direction for the county. And I think it's obvious that we'd all like to have a trail system, but it may make sense that we have an operating rail system because it's financially more important and viable for the county. It may cost us tens of millions of dollars to create a trail system. We don't really understand that yet. So I think we're being prudent, taking the right choice, and understanding consequences before we make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I went right into the meeting without asking for a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Loeb. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay, we'll go right back to you, Tim.
Answer to your second question. I spoke this morning with Scott Wertans. He reiterated exactly what Justin said. He said he's under contract with June 1st. And then after that, he said if they're out of here, we can actually pin them up. The only thing that he said by doing that, we should also remove batteries because that runs continuously in charge. He said through the summer you'd be okay, but wintertime, obviously, going forward, you would have to do something with the batteries. By unplugging them, they won't charge, obviously, in the bed. Maintenance-wise, I was told no maintenance is needed. If there's no trains, there's no maintenance. Other than what Mr. Molino said, the stations are going to start looking pretty unsightly, so other than that, there is no maintenance. Once they're going, they're going.
So we'll have to make sure that those properties do not, yeah.
We used the
That was expressed.
cemetery years ago, Thurman Station, Hadley Station, repairs. There's not a lot to do. I mean, the turntable, I guess, we go to. So that's all I have to do.
Okay.
Well,
Mr. Garrity?
are you saying that we're going to pick up those things, regardless if we have have Neomas too. I wouldn't touch those
Yeah.
switches.
I'm not proposing we do pin up those. I believe if
The only
anybody's
thing-
responsibility is to do that right now, it's Saratoga North Creek Railroad.
That's correct, and that's the way it needs to, until we get notified in writing. I wouldn't touch that stuff.
And also, he said, once he's done June 1st, the rails come down, or the signals come down, who do you call?
Well, I always consider those. There's 9 down, right?
There are.
Just a quick question on that. Was 6/1 the original time that his contract was to expire, or did it expire already and they kept it going for another month?
For Scott Wordtrans, who does the signals for them, no, his contract with them expires on 6/1.
Okay, I'll move into the rest of our agenda. On page 1, you'll see I included our entire stocking season, our dates, our sizes, our amounts. We stocked 23,670 brooks rainbow trout throughout Warren County. That was complete as of last Wednesday. Next, I have some photos here that Mr. Majos has. Spring Zing was held. We had 301 visitors. Several supervisors, including Mr. Hazel himself, that helped us out. It was a great event. We had a little bit of rain or cold weather, but throughout the day, we ended up being successful. The third item I have is the Bikeway Gas Main Project that has commenced. It started last Wednesday out in front of Cooper Cave Inn, Dix Avenue, working their way towards selection. They told me if everything goes well, it would take 4 to 6 weeks. That's all I have. Questions?
I just want to say thank you to everybody at DPW, the trout rearing crew for all the trout in the mill pond. I actually was away for the weekend, but I got reports there were hundreds and hundreds of kids there. Couldn't even get through town, and it was a great deal. So thank you.
I just want to let you know that you can have your hot dog cooking duties back next year.
I think my weekend destination goes into next year also. So it's kind of a permanent thing. It's working out well. Thank you. We'll move right into DPW.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 2, the first resolution we have is a request to close a couple of projects. These are authorization to close H366 West Mountain Road. It was a pavement preservation project that we had last year, and to put the money back to the funding source, which is under county roads. This project came in under budget, and that's why there's the approximately $10,000, almost $11,000 extra in the project.
Moved by Mr. Molino, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
The next one, Mr. Chairman, is a request to close or transfer money out of certain projects. The Treasurer's Office reviewed a lot of the projects from last year, and anywhere there was a negative balance, they wanted us to correct them, so we had money in other projects that we could correct those. You see, there's one that's significant, $1,200. The other two were a penny and 46 cents. We fixed those now, so this is just a request to transfer the funds to those projects.
Someone like to move that? Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Wild. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The last item I have is a notice of intent to fill for a vacant position. This is a MEO light position. We just promoted an MEO light to a medium because we had a medium position available, and now I'd like to be able to backfill the light position.
Moved by Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor Wild. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'd just like to add real quick with the discussion of that one is we have advertised for temporary help for the summer. Typically we get 4 or 5, maybe 6 individuals each summer to work at DPW. some of those at the end of the year may carry on as a full-time position. If you know anybody who's looking for work within DPW, please send them our way, because we have received no applications whatsoever.
What's the rate of pay?
I think it's somewhere about $12 an hour.
Probably one.
I was just going to say that.
They have to be 16.
Yes.
Did you try employment training?
That we're reaching out to them next. And the last thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is on pages 5 and then 6 through 8, we have the DPW overtime reports as well as the fuel usage reports.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on those reports?
Overtime's up.
It was up for last, yeah, it was definitely up. It's up for this year, but it was up last month, I believe, as well, because of the
740 hours, May.
April. Yeah, the amount of snow that we had in April. We had a snowy April this year.
Okay. High. Way high.
Okay, if there's anything else to come before the committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Supervisor Wild, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. All's in favor?
Great.
We're adjourned.